From Tally to Cali,
It's time
to wake up.
Wake up! Wake up!
Warchant.com is your ultimate Seminole sports source.
And this is Wake Up Warchant, presented by Corner Pocket Bar and Grill.
One more corner pocket.
Now here's Warchant.com's Aslan Hutchavandi.
And Corey Clark.
And let the band deal with this.
Wake up! What is up, everybody? It's Wake Up Warchant, presented by the Corner Pocket Bar and Grill. Coming up on today's show, some more practice observations. What in the world is Miami going to do at quarterback? And the age-old question, who do you hate more, Miami or Florida? Wake Up Warchant is presented by the Corner Pocket Bar and Grill, Tallahassee, Florida. CPTallybar.com. That's the website, 2475 Appalachia Parkway, the physical address. Delicious food, lunch specials, Monday through Friday, 11 a.m. to 3 p.m., and on Fridays of home games from 5 o'clock to about 6 o'clock, live meet and greet happy hour over at the Corner Pocket Bar and Grill along with the Warchant.com staff. That includes Corey Clark, Jeff Cameron, Tom Lang, maybe me, maybe Gene Williams, maybe Matt Lasser, maybe Ira Schofield, maybe Michael Langston. Just come out, though, because it definitely will be a great time. 5 o'clock happy hour Friday over at the CPTallybar.com. You can always hit the QR code on your screen. Takes you right to the website. Warchant.com, your ultimate Seminole sports source. It is still the big game week, obviously, Corey. So the big game special is ongoing. 50% off an annual membership for first-time customers over at Warchant.com. No promo code needed. Just show up, go to the website, Warchant.com. Green neon bar, top of the website, I think. Subscribe, sign up. 50% off an annual membership. Take advantage. 5-star rating and review as well, please. Corey Clark, everybody. Corey Clark. How are you, Corey Clark?
I'm good. A little tired. Drove up late Tuesday night after trivia at Corner Pocket. Got on the road, made it back to Atlanta around 2:45 in the morning. And now I'm here talking to you on Wednesday. So I didn't get to see practice. But I did get to, read some updates on the website, watch some video. So, starting to feel pretty good about maybe how the wide receiver position will play out on Saturday.
Well said. Well said, Corey. Way to disguise our coverage, if you will. Ha, ha, ha. Ha, ha, ha. At least you haven't dealt with any traffic. I'm glad you were able to avoid that. That's always good.
Buddy, it was perfect. I don't recommend it, I guess, because you never know who's on the road. You don't know who's on the road at 5 in the afternoon either, just like you don't at midnight or 1 a.m. But, buddy, it was just free and easy the whole ride up to Atlanta.
Yeah. All right, let's get some practice observations. Some of the more choppy, maybe even sloppy moments that I've seen out of this team in a long, long time, and it started in period 3. Overthrow pass on a wheel route to Lawrence Toafili, then followed up by a flag, which was like a procedure call on the offense, so they backed them up. Pressure ensued on the following play. Jordan phantom fumble, like nobody touched him, but just the ball fell out of his hands. Couple screen passes, Kyle Morlock involved in getting the ball in his direction and moving the ball across the 50-yard line. Ends with Ryan Fitzgerald hitting a 45-yard field goal, though. So it ended well, but there were just some moments in there that weren't very characteristic of the team. Later on in the day, one of the more bizarre things I've seen out there, doing goal line one-on-one, it ended up being 2-on-2, which isn't the way it's designed. So there was a snap of a ball, and a receiver went out for a route, a DB went to cover him, and then apparently another receiver and DB thought it was their turn to go, and these 4 players ended up colliding into each other at one point, and somebody got banged up. It was bizarre. Norvell didn't lose his mind, but it was just more of like, how did this just happen? What are we doing here? Which was surprising. I thought he was going to totally flip his lid, but he kept it kind of calm. So those 2 moments were just like, what is going on here? This is not very Florida State-esque. But there were 2 moments in a 2.5-hour practice that was 25 periods long, and otherwise pretty solid day out of the offense. I thought C.J. Campbell had a really good week of practice. Now, I don't know if that's going to carry on to them thinking that he could be relied upon in the Miami game, or just the way they're kind of limiting the load, perhaps at that position on the field. Really good play by Ja'Kai in one-on-ones. 30 air yards off the arm of Jordan Travis, fingertip catch, and it was Renardo Green who was in coverage on him. Everybody was going nuts. Norvell ran after Ja'Kai and was so happy for that catch. But the very next time they went heads up against each other, Corey, comeback route from Ja'Kai, and Renardo was on him the entire time, batted away, and got the revenge on that. So that was really good to see in one-on-ones. When they went to goal line 11-on-11, Blake Nicholson had a pick. So did Conrad Hussey. 2 different quarterbacks they picked off. Neither of them your starting quarterback. So big dub all the way around. And then in 7-on-7, just an absolute beautiful dime from Jordan Travis to Jaheim Bell, which there's a moment in practice where I'm like, where's Jaheim been? And then he had like 2 big plays. I'm like, oh, there he is. Just an embarrassment of riches that continues to produce for this team. And some encouraging news again from Coach Norvell. Go check out the press conference afterwards, or the interview afterwards, where he was asked about Keon and said, yeah, he's coming along good. He's progressing. So, and Johnny was out there obviously on Tuesday. Everybody saw a video of him on Wednesday. So everything is good. Do they need the full complement, Corey? Obviously, you feel much better if both guys are ready and able to go. But, like, do they need Keon and Johnny to be able to pull out the win, you think, on Saturday?
I mean, no, they don't need both of them. I'm of the opinion they need at least one of them because, again, you saw what happened on Saturday in Pittsburgh. There was nothing. Ja'Kai made some nice plays. He really did, and hats off to him. But there's nobody else in that wide receiver core that scares you. Those 2 dudes frighten every cornerback that lines up against them. And Miami's got a good defense. Miami's got a top 25-ish defense. Probably, I don't know, man, the 3rd best defense you've seen behind Duke and Clemson. So, but it's right there with Duke. Like they've got a good defense, and if they show up wanting to play, which you assume they would, because it's a rivalry game, and they're mad. They should be mad anyway. They're not going to be easy to move the ball on. But Johnny and Keon are the hey, you can scout us perfectly, you can defend this play perfectly, you can know what's coming, and they're the types of players that it doesn't matter. They can still go get you 30 yards. And when you don't have that, it can be a lot harder to score. Case in point, Pitt last week. So, yeah, I don't know if they need both of them to win. If they have both of them, their chances of winning winning big multiply. But, yeah, you definitely, I think, need one. You need one. But having 2 would be very nice. And, again, as I said at the top of the show, I have no inside knowledge. I wasn't even at practice on Wednesday. I personally would be surprised if they're both not playing on Saturday. And I feel like Norvell kind of intimated as much.
Yeah. So are you saying Florida State would need to change their signals if they played Michigan in the playoff?
They're going to throw it to John. They're going to throw it to 14 or 4. Yeah. Okay, what sign do you have for that?
Yeah. We're recording this before possible sanctions come down on Jim Harbaugh in the Michigan program. They say it's going to come down by end of business on Wednesday. So.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Yeah. Okay. The Big Ten. They're trying to be.
Go for it, Big Ten.
Yeah, Paul Feinbaum trying to bully them into throwing the book at Jim. So that just makes me want Jim to survive this that much more. But I don't know, man. I feel a little bit nervous for my guy. We'll see how it all shakes out for him, though.
He's your guy now. All right.
And he's always been my guy. I'm a Niners fan. What he did for the 49ers
yeah, that's right.
was incredible. Right. I was a Chicago Bears fan, too, as a little kid because, Walt Payton was really cool, I was told. And by the time I could, come of age and know what was going on, Jim Harbaugh was the quarterback.
Right.
And I always felt bad for him because, Mike Ditka was such a jerk to him. So I was like, I feel bad for that guy. Let's be friends. So if I ever saw Jim Harbaugh, I'd shake him up. He's just so crazy. There's a weird sociopathic quality to him that I somewhat admire for some odd reason. I can't really verbalize on the show right now, but it makes sense if you know who I am. It all blends together in some way, form, or fashion. Hey, and with that said, let's turn to the mailbag then, Corey, shall we?
Let's do it.
All right, all of these from our valued customers over at the warchant.com Tribal Council. We'll have a live show later tonight, 6 o'clock. We'll also reveal the over-unders from the Clark Sportsbook, where you can win a $25 gift card to Garnet and Gold if you win the contest. But, again, you have to be a member of the website. 50% off, though. 50% off. FSU Uncensored. Wake up, fellas. Toughest test at this point has to be Florida in the swamp, I guess, with it being on the road. I will admit, though, it's nice being so far ahead of both in-state programs and enjoying their misery. As far as Miami starting quarterback, will Mario listen to the fans or start who gives them the best chance to win, which has to be Tyler Van Dyke, considering his ability to possibly get hot, ? Remember, he likes playing on the road to remind him what a home atmosphere feels like. Go Noles. See y'all on Saturday.
Yeah, that's my opinion, is that I just don't see how they're going to, if Emory Williams plays like he did against Clemson, that's not a recipe to beat Florida State, because Florida State has a much better offense than Clemson. And you can't assume you're going to hold Florida State to 2 touchdowns. It just doesn't. That's not anything that's happened in a long time. So you've got to hit some plays. The problem with Van Dyke is, number one, he might be broken. His confidence looks like it's completely shattered, and he also gives the team the other ball a lot. He's thrown 10 interceptions in 4 games. So that's not the way to beat Florida State either. So who knows?
Yeah, how would you rank these next 3 games, or 3 of the next 4? And we'll assume that it's Louisville. How would you rank them in order of difficulty, from toughest to most manageable?
Look, I would say at Florida is probably the toughest. Just because I don't. Number one, let's see what Florida looks like the next 2 weeks. It's not like they're getting blown off the field by anyone, not named Georgia. So you will not blow them off the field with your talent. They have some talent. They have a couple receivers that make plays. The quarterback doesn't turn the ball over a ton. He's not maybe dynamic. But yeah, and it's Florida, man, and they would love nothing more than just to crush your season, and they will get up for that game. So, and Mike Norvell's never won at Florida, so there's a lot of things that make that. I know he's only 0 for 1, but there's a lot of things that make that, to me, you can't. I don't understand. Other than the 2013 team, there's never been a team in Florida State history where you knew going in they were going to win. You could assume a win, and even that game was 3-0 with 3 minutes to go in the second quarter. Like, it's just not the easiest place to play. So that, to me, will always be the toughest. And then, man, Louisville's good. And if you're playing Louisville there, or Carolina, I think those are going to be tough. And, Miami, I think Miami probably has the most talent, especially on the line of scrimmage, of all these 3 teams that you have left. But the quarterback play has been so erratic, the offense has been so bad, that unless they find something and play above their heads, it doesn't seem like they would have a really good chance of winning unless you do some really dumb stuff.
Nole Dad for life. I think that's our guy, Austin. Playoff. Let's get your take real quick, Corey. Playoff poll stayed static, but apparently Boo Kerrigan, who's the head of this committee, said that apparently the smallest gap was between 4 and 5. Thoughts? That's probably fair, right? Look at the beauty, though, is that all the one-loss teams are behind all the undefeated teams. And as long as it stays that way, Florida State fans have nothing to worry about. 4, 3, 2, if you stay undefeated, a one-loss team will not be in front of you, which is good to know. But, yeah, man, I think that's fair, right? I think and Washington still got to play Oregon. And if Washington plays Oregon, they might bump over you. And if they lose to Oregon, you got nothing to worry about. And even if they do jump over you, Ohio State and Michigan play each other. So, again, I think out of the top 7 teams, they all play each other except for Florida State. Georgia plays Alabama. Washington plays Oregon. Obviously, Ohio State plays Michigan. So, 3 of those teams are going to have another loss or a loss. So, you seem to be in relatively good shape. Question from Nole Dad for life. How much do you think what we saw last week against Pitt offensively is what 2024 might hold for us? The whole game, all I could think of is great. This is what we have to look forward to next year with a worse quarterback.
I would say slow your roll on that a little bit.
But we all thought that for a little bit, right? I thought that.
No, I didn't, because Hakeem Williams and Destin Hill were non-factors. Destin Hill could barely move. Hakeem Williams didn't play. And Vandrevius played, 5 snaps. So those 3 guys, I think, are that is a core that is going to be really nice, man. Really nice. You guys see Vandrevius and just the way he moves, and we've seen it in practice. That guy, if it can all come together for him, I think is going to be a weapon. I think Destin Hill will absolutely be a weapon, and Hakeem Williams might be a star. The way he ascended in the last 6 months until he got hurt, man, and that speed he showed on the touchdown, yeah, you got a lot of stuff to work with there. Plus, the portal's open. I don't think you're going to have the hardest time in the world after what Keon has done, and Johnny has done, quite frankly, to get a big-time receiver to come transfer to your place to play in this offense. That, as we all know, Aslan, is built for playmakers.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I'm saying. Like, next year, It's not going to be Ja'Kai and Derek. You weren't even healthy. Like, I would have it was such a bummer that Deuce Spann couldn't play, Hakeem couldn't play, Destin could barely run, Portier wasn't. It was such a bummer that in that moment with your 2 stars out, that the other guys couldn't step up and shine to give you a sense of what next year will be like. Because they were all either hurt or hobbled, either out of the game or just out completely or not running at full speed. So trust me, I think there's some young talent in that room. I think you do too, Aslan. You've watched them practice. It just was a bummer that they didn't get those kind of reps when they were available last week. But I think you like those 3 guys that I mentioned off the top are all, I think, could be difference makers.
Speaking of that game, our guy from Kentucky, Dave from Bardstown, says he draws a parallel between what we saw last week against Pitt and the stories you hear about a basketball player who injures their dominant hand, so they're forced to practice with their non-dominant hand. That setback elevates their game to the next level because now they're ambidextrous. He believes that's what happened Saturday for Jordan and the offense. No security blankets, forces everybody to develop chemistry with some new pieces, so that's part of it.
That's a good. I want to touch on that real quick. That's a good point because you didn't have like I've called them, the get out of jail free cards. You didn't have the security blankets is a great term for them. You had to go earn your yards, and it was by there was no. Hey guys, Johnny can't save you, man. Keon can't save you. If y'all want to win this game and move the ball, it's up to you. And it was up to the coaches to design, plays that would work against a very aggressive defense. And at the end of the day, I know they only scored 24 points. They had 500 yards offense. So I do think that builds – obviously, Johnny and Keon have a ton of confidence. It builds the confidence in everybody else that they don't need those superstars necessarily to be great. Now, I think they do, but still, it's nice that they had 500 yards. They showed they could put up 500 yards without those 2 guys.
Second part. Some criticism of Caleb Williams' reaction to the loss against Washington the other night. Thought it was a little bit interesting.
It was we can. I'm not making fun of anyone, but we can't sit here and say that's a normal reaction. That it wasn't bizarre, and you could. And for the people that don't know, after they lost to who they played, Washington. Yeah. By the way, I mean, Washington gets credit for beating that team. That USC team has a great quarterback in the worst defense of mankind, in the history of mankind. It is unbelievably bad. Anyway.
I think they get credit for the Oregon win, I think is what they're getting credit for.
Oh, sure, absolutely. But, what changed between – it felt like Boo Corrigan was saying that the margin got tighter.
Yeah.
Because of a win over USC? All right, man, whatever. But it'll all play out anyway.
Right.
But with Caleb Williams, so after the game, he goes and hops into the crowd with his family – and then it looks like he's convulsing. He's crying so hard, and they put up something to block the cameras from seeing him. And it was
Shout out to Mom, by the way. That was awesome.
Absolutely. It was just it was an odd reaction. It doesn't mean he's a soft kid. It doesn't mean that the whoever has the first pick is going to be scared away from it. But it will be something he's asked about because that was
really?
Absolutely. Because it was. Have you ever seen that before? So if you're a GM and you're going to spend
but he does stuff on the football field I've never seen before, so I really don't care about him being emotional because he knows that his season is now totally over as a competitor. They still had a shot at winning the Pac-12 and going to the championship game, and it was all thrown across the side now. So everything is off the table. I have no problem with it.
Oh, I don't either. But we can't sit here and act like that was something you've ever seen before.
I know, but it wasn't something like. I don't know. It wasn't Antonio Brown taking his jersey off and running off the field doing something totally crazy and unhinged.
Right, but to people that make decisions, okay, what kind of kid are we getting here? Yeah, is he this emotional that if something goes bad, if he loses a game and is out of the race for the conference championship, that's what's going to happen? You would have to ask the question what's going on? Especially somebody that rumors have come out that he wants part ownership of a team. Or he's going to go back to school if he doesn't like who drafts him. It's all right, man, things like that, things off the field, yeah, you're a great talent. Quarterback is a lot more than just great talent. So you would certainly want to know what was going on there. But, yeah, it was bizarre. I'll just leave it at that.
Then last part of his 3-part question, which he wanted me to read verbatim, but I'm not going to because I will not be extorted. He offered $10 if I would done so. He feels that watching games in person versus at home is different because his perception gets skewed and influenced by the commentators. Corey, what was it like watching at home last week? Do you watch with the sound off? You got Culhane in the background, or is your soul impenetrable to the voices and opinions of lesser mortals?
I turned it mostly down. I didn't listen. I basically muted it and watched the game. And that is nothing against, is it Mark Jones and Lewis Riddick?
Yes.
It's nothing against them. I just have a weird, Stephanie will tell you this, so would Brady. I have a weird habit when I'm watching sports to just mute it. And
That's
just watch
crazy.
it. Yeah. I don't know why. Like, I just don't know why. So and I like Mark Jones. I know his vocabulary irritates some, but I think it's funny. And Riddick really knows football. It wasn't against them. It was just sometimes, especially a game I'm very invested in. Like a Braves game on the road in the playoffs. I don't want to hear the crowd go crazy if Harper hits a 3-run homer, which he always does against the Braves. So I just have the sound down. Then it's like it doesn't affect me as much. It's weird. I don't know, but that's what I do. I do watch it. It is odd. I like having the replays. I like being up close on the sidelines, but I don't like listening to the any of the commentators or just the ambient crowd noise. Weird, right?
No, I get it. I mean,
but it's weird. I get it.
It's
a quirk.
I don't do it. I'm just pondering how I'm going to do this next question here. It's random_John. I guess I have to read this verbatim or else it won't make any sense. Good morning, guys. May this weekend find Aslan meeting his one true love and Miami thoroughly embarrassed after another 42-point loss at the hands of FSU and their clearly violent receiving corps. Speaking of said receiving corps, was Coach Norvell showing the playoff committee what we can do by handicapping his team against Pitt? ? To go full Tanya Harding is the only explanation as to the reason our top 5 receivers are injured. What else could be the reason? ? Clearly, they all got in a room and decided, quote, hey, for Ja'Kai, let's make a blood oath that we will all injure ourselves before Pitt. It's his time, unquote. And as they all take their hammers and tire irons and bludgeon each other, all the while screaming, for Ja'Kai. All right, less is more. Love you guys. I like that we were able to hone our crafts together, us talking and answering questions, you guys asking questions. I don't even know, Corey. Respond for that, please.
All I was thinking when I was watching that game on mute on Saturday was it did remind me of the student union fight that happened. I think it was 2008. It was Ponder's first year starting, where half the receiving corps was suspended because of a fight in the student union. And I'm not saying this. That was not what happened here. These are legitimate injuries. There was no fight. There was no altercation where they were suspended, and they weren't doing it for Ja'Kai. But yeah, it reminded me of that when they were so shorthanded against Boston College that night and lost the game. And it would have helped to maybe have. I think Burt Reed played, but maybe Burt Reed didn't play, so I don't even want to go into who, because I can't remember who was eligible and who wasn't. But I don't remember another time seeing any team that shorthanded at wide receiver. To go from a room that had, when the season started, Winston Wright, Destin Hill, Deuce, obviously Johnny Keon, Ja'Kai wasn't playing, but Darian Portier, well, I guess Portier wasn't either. You had all these guys that were 8 or 9 guys that you thought, man, this is great. Hakeem, Bantravius, and then on last Saturday, you had 2.5 healthy bodies.
Trying to find a story to see who, if there's any like names listed here. Can't find it though. Wow.
Also, don't know if they won the fight.
The story says the NCAA is deciding whether it'll impose additional punishment. For what?
It's not. That doesn't seem like that's in the NCAA's jurisdiction or purview. To what would that even be? Hey guys, don't get in fights. We're going to come down on you.
Maybe I should take a Vitamin Energy Mood Plus and be in a better mood before I do these shows, so I'll read everybody's questions verbatim. But I didn't today, so we have to deal with the consequences of that action.
I hope you guys see, and he usually does, so I hope you guys hear this, Aslan, and then what you normally hear, and be like, man, that Vitamin Energy does make a difference.
Yeah. VitaminEnergy.com. Strength, energy, performance, all in the Workout Plus shop, the #1 pre-workout on the market. In fact, the world's first and only clinically proven, clinically effective, energy shot, and it's got the vitamins in it, y'all. It's got the vitamins. Tastes great, too, the Sour Apple and the Workout Plus. That would be in my college football top 4. If I had to rank my top 4 flavors, Sour Apple certainly would be in the top 4. You go to vitaminenergy.com, use that promo code WARCHANTBOGO, WARCHANT BOGO. Buy one, add another item of equal or lesser value for absolutely free. I think they're also throwing in like a free 8-hour energy sampler as well, so you can give that to somebody that might have trouble getting to sleep. Maybe that's you sometimes when you're so excited for this game. I don't think Jeff Cameron has labeled this a Cat 5 maintain, but maybe in your world it is.
No.
In any world, though, the promo code works. WARCHANTBOGO. WARCHANT BOGO. VitaminEnergy.com. Shake it and take it. Back at it, Corey Clark. Let's go to our guy, Mark Naples. Wake up! We're on the back nine with a few birdies to close out the round. We can win a major. And with Mike Norvell in charge, it will change the program for years. But to Miami, do you think this is the week that the team plays a complete game? Last home game at Doak, offense, defense, special teams, firing on all cylinders for 4 quarters, another beatdown like last November, or do you think we just cover, win by 2 or 3 scores, and move on? We all want to see this team's potential explode, particularly on offense.
Yeah, I mean, again, I'll keep saying it. It goes back to the availability and health of the wide receivers, and we just don't know. Again, I can speculate, but that's all that is speculation. At 3:31, I'll have a much better answer for this because, again, if you have Keon and Johnny out there and they're close to 100%, and Johnny certainly looked close to 100% when I saw him on Tuesday, that's what would you say the difference is? That's 10 extra points, 14 extra points, 30?
Both of them?
Yeah, both of them.
Yeah, man. I mean, they score 38 against Pitt if both are playing. Yeah, so
at least, especially if Pitt was going to play that defense. Like, look, man, I think Darian Williamson has some talent. I'd like him to put it all together, but he didn't look great on those throws down the middle of the field. He didn't come close to catching them. I have a feeling Keon and Johnny both do catch those. There were 40 and 50-yard chunk plays out there that Pitt wouldn't have, and if they would have dared to play that kind of defense and just leave their corners on an island, good effing luck, man. You couldn't cover Ja'Kai Douglas. So I feel like 4 and 14 would have torched them. So, yes, I think it's at least 14 or 17, 24 points, whatever difference. But yeah, so it's hard to look great when you don't have your great players available. So if they have their great players available, full speed, all of them, then yeah, maybe this is finally the game they put it all together and look like, the second half of the LSU game. But again, or maybe they won't ever do it. Maybe it's an impossible thing to do.
Yeah, I just don't think it's going to happen, I don't think they need to play that way.
And also, who has
to win football? Yes, yeah, that's it too. And listen, I think we've seen enough now, probably out of LSU, to realize that their defense is not very great.
Correct.
So. What you did against them. Like, I think this might be...
I think looking back at that game, Aslan, don't you think what the defense did is much more impressive than looking back in hindsight, what the Florida State defense did against LSU is much more impressive than what the offense did.
Yeah, man. Listen, Jaden Daniels is he's an elite college quarterback. I don't know if he's going to play on Sundays, but he's an elite college quarterback. Neighbors is an elite college receiver. They have a pretty darn good offensive line. What is it, Brian Thomas Jr., the other guy, the wiry, 6'4" receiver they have, Kyron Lacey.
And Lacey, they got a kid named Lacey, right?
Kyron Lacey. That's a really good offense, and what that defense did to LSU, I definitely agree, Corey. That's well said. That is probably the more impressive aspect of that. And listen, the defense has been that way, right, in the second half of all these games since Boston College. So...
and that's kind of what gives you hope moving forward throughout the rest of the season is, and again, I'll knock on wood, but the defense is always going to keep teams contained. They don't shut out anybody. They'll give up some points and some yards and some first downs, and it feel like every team has a 7-minute drive. But when you look at the totality of this season against great offenses and bad offenses and everything in between, they give up in the neighborhood of 2 to 3 scores. And they just don't get torched. And they don't give up, other than the Pitt game where they ended up slapping the ball away anyway, they don't give up huge plays. So if they can just keep that formula and that recipe, you know what you're getting from this defense, which is a good, solid product, where teams don't just score at will and they don't hit huge plays. and they're fundamentally sound, and they're pretty well coached. You know what I mean? Like, that's what they've been through 9 games. You know going into this game, unless craziness happens, Miami's not going to get to 30.
Oh, no way.
I mean, it could. Unless there's a special team score, a pick six, a bunch of turnovers, you wouldn't expect Miami to get to 30.
Right.
I don't think you'd expect Florida to get to 30, or even Louisville to get to 30. What a great feeling that is, a luxury that is, going into these kind of games. And I'm not saying that it won't happen. You just think going in, our defense is good enough, they're going to contain that other team. And then, they have to deal with Jordan Travis and Johnny and Keon and Trey Benson and Jaheim Bell. So the defense has done its part through 9 games for sure.
Yeah, I just wonder. I feel like this might be the best pairing of lines of scrimmage Florida State's going to have gone up against the entire year. Like,
Probably, right?
I think
I think so.
LSU had a really good offensive line. Or defensive line didn't have Mason Smith, but they did have Mekhi Wingo. Like, I think Duke has got really good lines of scrimmage.
Yeah.
But I think maybe Miami just might be a smidge ahead of them. But then it all comes down to, like, your quarterback play. And just Miami, like, no team has had that mixture of able, capable, competent lines of scrimmage and a talented quarterback that's been healthy for the entire stretch
Duke
of the game.
Might have been if Leonard was healthy.
Yeah.
But he wasn't.
Right.
And I think kind of, you expect Van Dyke, if he plays, to kind of look to be as effective as Leonard was in that game, which is not very. But that's a recipe to beat Florida State, what Duke did. They were good on the line of scrimmage. They did hit a big run. They did stop Florida State from running the ball. And they
got a defensive score.
They got a defensive score, and they were able to churn out first downs via the running game. Not a lot of huge runs, except for the 50-yarder where Cypress took that crazy angle, but a lot of 6-yard runs and a 4-yard run and then an 8-yard run. That's how you can beat Florida State. And Miami does have that ability because, like you said, that offensive line is good. Be nice to have Darrell Jackson this week.
Hey, but, 4 more games.
Yeah.
I can't wait till we can start talking about that. That's going to be like a real thing, Like, hey, they're going to have him back.
It'd be cool if I'm telling you, they just need to move up the semester a week, and then he can play in Charlotte.
Come on, Dr. McCullough. Figure it out.
Do you care or not, Doc? Do you care about this football team or not?
Gator Kirk, here's a tough one, Corey. I'll let you handle this one. Wake up! What do the players value more? The molding and becoming a better football player or becoming a better man?
Oh. I don't know. I don't know how to answer that. Yeah. Wouldn't that be an individual thing? I hope they value them both. I would hope. Well, no, I would hope they'd value becoming a better man, because that's something. You're only going to be a football player for a few more years. You're going to be a man for the rest of your life, so that's more important. But it's also college. When I was 20, I didn't value the adult lessons I was learning. Clearly, I would go back and slap that kid in the face if I could. So I would think they probably value the football team and the football experience right now, which is to be that's just.
I forgot we talked to Coach Fuller one time, and it was on the record, but it wasn't on camera. And I think we were busting chops about them practicing in the mornings, and he's like, "Yeah, man, it makes sense. All these kids are they're gonna have to grow up and wake up early to go to work, And it's so I do think it sounds cheesy, but I'm sure being the better man makes you the better football player. Like being disciplined, being accountable, waking up early, having to be there for your teammates, all these sort of things that will affect the way you will be as a man, as a part of society, makes you a better functioning member of a football team. So we can ask these sort of questions in the afterglow when they're doing the parade through downtown, and I'm like running down the street trying to catch up with them as they're tossing beads off their floats. You're like, Jordan, your time here, man, was it about being a better man or a better football player? Yes, sir. Just one day at a time, man. Just doing the thing, man.
It's cool that you pointed that out. You said that, and it reminded me. I read up because Wednesday was National Signing Day for basketball and soccer and softball and everything else. And I was reading up because I'm interested in Florida State softball in their signing class. Just see it because it's hard to know. Like I don't follow the recruiting rankings, so I wanted to see what kind of badasses they got. And I'm not going to even read their what they do on the softball field. They signed 4 people. Listen to these descriptions. DeLong brings a well-rounded background that will add to the Seminole family. She was a member of National Honor Society and vice president in her class with a 4.0 GPA in honor roll throughout high school. She also showed sheep competitively and held the reserve grand champion natural lamb at the Ohio State Fair and played. Okay, Addie DeLong.
4-H member, I think. Let's go.
2-sport star. Showing sheep but look, so 4.0 GPA, vice president. The next one, Jasmine Franchik of Melbourne High School. AP Scholar, National Honor Society member. Finished first in Florida Future Problem-Solving Scenario Performance. Like the Shelby McKenzie. 4.3 GPA. 4.3 GPA. And then Isabella Ruggiero, National Honor Society. Science National Honor Society member, and qualified for magna cum laude. Like, well-rounded. I try to preach this to my son, but if you take one thing seriously and care, you're going to take everything seriously and care. It's about being excellent in everything and caring about everything. And that's why, I don't think that's a coincidence that they sign people like that for Florida State softball and Lonnie. There aren't a lot of dumb girls on that team. There aren't any, honestly. So I think that's not a coincidence. But it's just, yeah, man, you learn valuable life lessons. You want people that are well-rounded. You don't want somebody that only cares about football. Because if they get injured or if they're not playing, what? So anyway, I don't know why that took me to Florida State softball. Hey, but congratulations to Lonnie on the class. By the way, they all can really play too. She's not just going to bump up the GPA. She's not recruiting to just bump up the GPA. That just happened to be the case.
Also fired up out there in the internet, Noel Chick 77. Rivalry games bring about emotions that can make or break a win to occur, so we must expect the best shot from Miami, who will want to derail the season and any chance at a college football playoff and undefeated regular season. I believe in our players, coaching staff, and fans to take control of the vibe Saturday to not give momentum to those Canes. We know this is their season and would control recruiting statewide and on a national level. Looking forward to seeing all our weapons ready to battle and taking care of defending Doak and getting a big win and going for the first leg towards a state title. Go Noles, beat those Canes, show the nation we are a great team worthy of playing for a national title, and push Jordan in New York City. Chop it up, Nole Nation. Let's get the war chant to echo loudly.
Okay, all right. Nothing really to add to that, but yeah, get fired up. It's Miami week, baby.
Let's keep moving.
I'm not calling her baby. I'm saying all of you guys, baby.
Nole for life, class of 2007. Wake up, guys. I don't care who starts at quarterback on Saturday for scum. As Ivan Drago once said, if he dies, he dies. But for the sake of discussion, does Tyler Van Dyke give scum the best chance to win, or would Mario Cristobal running out a youngling galvanize their troops enough to give scum a fighting chance? Hope we decimate these bums because they are talking reckless this week. Drink Vitamin Energy, beat scum.
Man, I think, again, it depends on what Van Dyke you're getting, and clearly something has happened. I don't know what the injury was necessarily. I don't know that they ever gave specifics on why he sat out against Clemson. But I want to read you the stats, Aslan, before he sat out against Clemson. So in the 5 games before that, even against Carolina, they lost that game by 10 points. He was 31 of 48 for 391. He threw for 4 touchdowns. He also threw 2 interceptions, and he was sacked 3 times. And that might have been when he got hurt. But Georgia Tech, that was his only bad game up until the injury. He was 24, and he was still in that one. He was 24 of 36 for 288. So averaging, 10, 12 yards of completion. But he threw 3 picks. Against Temple, 220 yards, 3 touchdowns. No picks. Bethune-Cookman, I get it. 247, 2 touchdowns. A&M, 21 of 30 for 374 and 5 touchdowns and no interceptions against that defense, which is a pretty good defense. And then in Miami of Ohio in the opener, 17 of 22 for 201, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. So before the Georgia Tech game, he had thrown 11 touchdowns to 1 interception, and he was averaging about 11 yards an attempt, which is a big number. Since he came back, these last 2 weeks, he's thrown for 336 yards total. So what is that, 168 a game, 5 interceptions, and 0 touchdowns. But what's more alarming to me, the interceptions are the most alarming thing. 0 touchdowns and 5 picks ain't great. But in 68 attempts, he only threw for 336 yards. That's less than 5 yards an attempt from a guy that normally averages 11 an attempt. Something's happened, right? Like, he is a kid that takes shots downfields and hits big chunk plays. He's always been that guy. These last 2 weeks, he hasn't been close to that guy. So if he's this guy again, just check down Charlie, not taking any shots, not beating anybody deep, maybe not having the arm strength to do it, then yeah, there's no point in playing him. And he does not give them the best chance to win. But if he's the kid that, if he's healthy like he was against A&M, and I don't think he is, I mean, that kid was good. Again, against Texas A&M, who has a very, very talented defense. Van Dyke was 21 of 30 for 374 yards and 5 touchdowns. So that's what scares you about him, that's in there. But then as we talk here on November 9th, I don't know that it is in there. By the way, it's actually November 8th when we record this, which is Stephanie's birthday.
Oh.
So just wanted to give a shout-out to Stephanie. Happy birthday. Should have done that on yesterday's show, and I forgot.
All valid points, which I'm not looking forward to making my score prediction on the Warchant Report powered by Cummins because, yeah, I mean, if he is who he's been here recently, I mean, like, what is Emory Jones going to do for you, though? Like, he didn't rip it against Clemson, and Ja'Curry Brown can run around and maybe give you a package or two, like a shot in the arm, get you across midfield, but I don't think he's going to give you a sustained drive. Yeah, I mean, their only hope is, like, it feels like Van Dyke finds, like, old magic, which is long
Is that
lost.
even possible, though?
It's long lost. Naked_Nole, wake up. If you had to pick an anytime touchdown scorer for the Noles on Saturday, who are you rolling with? Jordan Travis getting a rushing touchdown in a rivalry game seems destined.
Yeah, I mean, that seems like an automatic, honestly. He's accounted for at least 2 touchdowns in 16 straight games, some number like that, which is pretty remarkable. So, yeah, I would say him getting a rushing touchdown because they sneak him. It's not quite what they do with Jalen Hurts in Philadelphia, but they do sneak him. He's pretty good at it. He scored on probably 3 sneaks this year. So I would say Jordan Travis getting a rushing touchdown. What about I mean, Benson could bust a big one too. That seems like a weekly occurrence, right?
Right. I was thinking about that the other day too. Just like he just hits home runs. It's like, Chris Carelli does is catch touchdowns. Like all Trey Benson does is hit home runs. Like when's the last time he ran in, like a 4-yard touchdown? I'm sure he did one this year. I can't, it doesn't like jump off the front of your lobe when you start thinking about these things. But yeah, I'm going to go with Naked Nole. He's making the rules for an anytime touchdown score. So I agree with you. Jordan Travis running it in. Right. The Walking Nolo 1. Last week I went back and watched the signing day live show y'all did back in 2021. Yep, that show. The one where Travis Hunter got up, threw our hat to the floor, and went to play for Dion.
Yeah.
What's crazy is that was the week 2 years ago that I was at Doak watching the Miami game, and I saw Travis Hunter walk right by me. Man, if I knew then what I know now, I didn't go back and watch that live stream to get mad at Travis or Prime. I did it to remind myself just how far we've come since then. Man, oh man. That's a good way to treat it. Yeah, just enjoy the climb. I can only imagine how fun it's been for you two to cover a team like this year. So with that being said, let's knock the Canes down and finish off the season so we can take New Orleans in the playoffs and win the whole dang thing. That's right.
Hey, man, you won't be seeing Travis Hunter there either.
Amen, Walker. Colorado, Noel, wake up.
You ever go back and watch our old shows?
Do I or can we?
Yeah, do you?
There was one time I went back and watched a couple. I watched, I think, maybe some raps like in 2020 of like the last couple games of Willie's tenure, but I haven't dipped back into like the 21 archives or anything like that. But yeah,
I'd like to go watch the. No, I was gonna say I'm not going to bring up that game. But yeah, I would. The signing day when I would go watch it.
Should we do a rewatchable of our own content? Like how meta would that be?
People would watch that. Yeah, we'd the Travis Hunter decision. Obviously, the game they lost on the final play a few years ago, something from 2020, and then like some good stuff sprinkled in there at the end as it started to slowly turn around.
Colorado, Noel. Gentlemen, there have been a number of in-game instances this season in which Coach Mike Norvell has been sprinting down the sideline during a big play by one of his players, whether it was Jaheim or Keon. My question for you is, has anyone on the Warchant staff asked Coach for his GPS data? And if so, what's his top miles per hour? Thanks as always. Go Noles.
I think I jokingly asked him that, or somebody did, before the season started. Because if you guys don't know, I assume many of you do, but at every practice when they break from stretching and they do a quick huddle to start the actual practice, he sprints 80 yards against some defensive linemen. And he's getting roasted here lately. He ain't racing Robert Cooper anymore. But yeah, so I asked him, I think, or somebody asked him if he wears the GPS monitors. I did ask him way back when we first started watching practice, like how much he walks in a day, like if he tracks that. And I think he told me 9 miles a day is about what, because he's going everywhere. You see him in practice, and he goes very quickly. But I think he said it was up somewhere in the neighborhood of 9 miles a day that he tracks on his watch.
My goodness.
But do you think he wears GPS stuff?
No, I don't think he's got the catapult on him. But I mean, he's got his like Apple Watch or whatever, but that's not the same thing.
It'd be funny if he did wear the catapult.
Great. But it's great though when they do stretch line, like he's usually just going up and down, like clapping up and encouraging everybody. But like the last minute of stretch line, he starts doing the same stretches because he knows he's got to get ready to sprint against Dante Anderson or Braden Fisk.
He pulled a hammy a couple springs ago. And was out of commission for a while.
It's real, man. It's real out there.
Yeah, he's old. He's getting old, Mike. You're getting old, bud.
What's not getting old is Corey and I competing for your honor and your attention and your validation by making picks every Thursday here on the program. My lead has slowly evaporated week over week as Corey has really come on strong the last 2 weeks. 3 out of his last 4. I threw a donut last week. I don't know if you have some games already in mind here, Corey. But let us reconvene and get this thing back going here.
Yeah, I do. I have one already. Right. Georgia Tech and Clemson. Okay. I think Georgia Tech is getting 14 points. Mm-hmm. I'd like to get 14.5, I'll be honest. But I'm going to take Georgia Tech getting 14 at Clemson. I just don't trust that Clemson offense enough. Georgia Tech's playing very well. They can run the ball a little bit with their quarterback. Obviously, it's not going to be high scoring, but they might be able to hit a few plays. And I just think that Clemson offense is so mediocre that's too big a number.
Okay.
So Georgia Tech plus 14.
All right. Let me see here. Where is that game? Whoever's UCF. I think UCF's playing Oklahoma State.
Okay.
So I want to take Oklahoma. I want to take UCF. Yeah, UCF is at home getting 2.5 against Oklahoma State. That little Bedlam hangover, I think, might be too much. And Gus just likes ruining people's weeks. He hasn't really upset anybody this year. Almost did Oklahoma earlier. Feels like maybe he's due. I'm going to take UCF at home plus 2.5, Corey.
And then I'm going to stay in the ACC because that's all I bet now. Somehow Boston College is an underdog at home to Virginia Tech.
Huh.
I don't understand it. I don't know why nobody respects my BC Eagles and dark horse Heisman contender Thomas Castellanos. But I like Boston College getting 1.5 points, man. They're going to win that game outright. They're feeling good. That kid has given them some life. The defense is playing well. And Virginia Tech just got shellacked and probably lost a lot of confidence in that game against Louisville. So I think Boston College is going to win that game by more than – well, they're getting points, so it doesn't matter. That doesn't even make sense.
That's what It's almost like one of those general principle games that Scott Van Pelt talks about where you have to, like, lean into the stink, which is – maybe taking Virginia Tech, but you're going BC 1.5.
BC, yep, going BC.
I'm just going to rally around my guy, Jim. Michigan given out for in Happy Valley. I think they're going to cover. I'm taking Michigan -4.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you there, buddy. Also, as Virginia and Louisville play tonight.
Yeah, that's correct.
I didn't realize that. Louisville's a 20.5 point favorite at home. Again, I think for everybody's wants and hopes and dreams, you probably want Louisville to win that game. They're number 11 in the latest poll. It would be really nice if you get to Charlotte and you're playing a top 10-ish opponent. So that would be nice. Not that it matters if you win. If you win out, you win out. But it would be nice to have some resume builders on the resume.
MyBookie.ag, there's a promo code. It's Warchant. You use that, you get an instant cash deposit bonus. Fade us, follow us, however you wish. You can make your picks, bet anything, anytime, anywhere, using the promo code Warchant for that instant cash deposit bonus as a first-time customer over at MyBookie.ag. I think we got like 4 more here, Corey.
All right, let's do it.
Bravo Victor, wake up. What's up, fellas? Can't wait to hopefully see you guys Friday at the Corner Pocket.
All right.
If Miami were to start Emory Williams or he plays significant time in this game, what does our defense need to worry about with him? Thanks, guys, for all you do. Loving this season and this team. Go Noles.
Emory Williams, he asked about?
Yes.
Is that what he said? The Miami, the freshman? Look, it's so hard to know because he wasn't asked to do anything against Clemson. I mean, he threw 33 times, but I read a stat where like 9 of his completions, I think he completed 24 passes. 9 of them were at the line of scrimmage or behind it. And then like 9 more were within 10 yards of the line of scrimmage. So he was just not taking any shots. It would be a lot of simple, quick, easy passes. He doesn't – I mean, I think he can move a little bit, but, again, he's not my man Castellanos or Jaden Daniels back there. He's more mobile now than current Van Dyke. But yeah, man, it's hard to know.
Isn't the problem that by virtue of starting him, aren't you almost signaling that you are going to be so dependent on the run that Florida State can put the numbers in there to, even though you have a really good offensive line and some pretty decent running backs, Florida State has enough talent that if they put the right numbers in the box, they can slow that down, and you're going to dare a true freshman to make downfield passes, right decisions, tight windows to beat you. I just you're surrendering by starting him, I feel like.
Well, I also think maybe Van Dyke, maybe the thought is you start this kid, and if he struggles, Van Dyke can kind of come in and be and there's no real pressure. You're already losing probably. Yeah. The offense isn't doing much, and Van Dyke can just let it loose, and maybe he's better as a reliever than a starting pitcher in this moment because maybe there's not as much pressure. I remember Florida State baseball had a few guys. I think John Gast was one from way back when, 12, 13 years ago. They started him. Jeff Parker, too, was another one. When he would start games, he was awful. But when they brought him in the 4th inning, he was an ace. I don't know why that happens, but sometimes it does. And obviously Van Dyke has proven that he can be a capable starting quarterback. But maybe just the mentality of go in and save us, Tyler. You haven't cost us this game. We need you to get back in this game. So go make some plays. There wouldn't be as much pressure, I don't think. Maybe that's an avenue they go down. But yes, I agree. I don't think it's a white flag. I think it's we believe in our running game and we believe in our defense enough that we need somebody that cannot turn the ball over, that we will just call a simple game plan, try to manage the ball, manage the game, manage field position, and try to be in this game in the 4th quarter. And maybe they think that kid gives them the best chance. Who knows?
Winkles. Wake up. This gets brought up every year, but who do you despise more, Florida or Miami? For me, it's the Jersey Shore bozos for sure, which I think that means Miami for our guy Winkles.
Okay. All right.
I'm Florida, forever and all. I can't imagine what would have to happen for Florida to get upended as the most loathed team in my DNA, orbit. I can't. I don't even know if Miami would have to go back to late 80s, early 90s and start winning on field goals again all the time. But absent that, no, Florida.
It's also, I would still say it's Florida. Look, and this is going to sound like a shot at Miami. It is a shot at Miami, but I'm not doing it to be rude. It's like they haven't mattered in 20 years. Florida has had a run in this decade. Well, sort of, not really this decade, but I mean they got to a couple SEC championship games. They've still been more relevant than Miami, even in the last 15 years, even since Tebow. But we also lived through Tebow, and Florida's always. I feel like they're one hire away from maybe being very, very good again. Maybe Napier's the guy; he'll turn it around. Who knows? Miami has been spiraling in place, doing nothing for 2 decades. And they don't show up for games. There's not much of a fan base. They just don't matter as much. The 90s team, absolutely, man. I can promise you Miami caused Corey Clark more heartache than Florida ever could. But I still think Florida's more of an equal. I don't know that Miami's ever getting back, man. Even in the era of NIL. They've just been irrelevant for so long. I just always think you're going to get more satisfaction out of beating Florida than Miami. But I don't know. Aslan and I might be in the minority.
Here's the thing. I just wonder, and I don't disagree with what you're saying. He's recruiting decent high school talent. If they give him enough time, maybe he builds that up well enough.
Who's he?
Cristobal.
Okay.
But it comes down to quarterback. I get what you're saying with Florida. If they make the right hire, Urban Meyer, Although, like, is that what they're going to hinge everything to either having Steve Spurrier or Urban Meyer to have to win a national title? Like, it feels like for Miami, it really is quarterback. I mean, Florida had, I don't know if it's Tebow or Urban Meyer, which, chicken or egg on that one. But like, if Miami ever if Tyler Van Dyke lived up to who they thought he was going to be after that 21 season, I mean, they're probably, we're going to end up rematching them in Charlotte, but he just has not worked out that way. Feels like Mario's building them fairly right, like winning in the line of scrimmage and handling that. They're not going to have the skill talent that Florida State has because of Battle's End and what Mike's offense is, I think. But like, if they ever just get a quarterback, but they have not had a quarterback. And I don't even want to count Ken Dorsey, but they never really even had a quarterback, right? Gino Toretta, I mean, these guys are all product of the guys around them.
Testaverde was great. He was singularly great. And then he finished his career with I think a 5-interception game against Penn State in the Fiesta Bowl, lose a national championship. But, man, like, you think about all these guys they've rolled through where you're like, okay, Stephen Morris is the guy.
Yeah, Kirby Freeman, Kyle Wright.
But those guys, like Stephen Morris, Brad Kaya, Ja'Cory Harris, they all had these moments where the Miami fans got so excited. Tyler Van Dyke, where you're like, oh man, this guy's gonna be he's the real deal. He's the next
Steve
great
Walsh.
Miami quarterback. Yeah. And then it's never panned out. It's just never panned out. So that's a good point. Like Florida State has had, since Miami. Let's say Ken Dorsey was their last really good quarterback. Florida State has had Ponder, Manuel, Jordan Travis, Jameis Winston, all in that stretch since Miami's had a good quarterback. Yeah. So it's you're right. It's a good point. And that's the weird thing. Cristobal, I don't know how to pronounce it, has built the guts of that team are pretty good. It's like a car, like the engine.
Good bones in the house.
Good bones
in the
man.
house. Yeah.
They do have a good line. They do have good line of scrimmage. They do have some a solid defense. They do have a running game. They have some stuff, and then it just hasn't worked out. But again, I want to make everybody understand, because we talk about this Miami game as if it's a foregone conclusion that Florida State's going to win, and I do think Florida State's going to win, but it's not locked and loaded, guaranteed. And remember, I know their record is 6-3. Miami is a 7-2 football team. They should be ranked 21st in the country. Or 19th.
Yeah, they're even, man. They shouldn't have beat Clemson. He went rogue. I mean, it all balances out.
The fact that it was even with a backup quarterback means that they're as good as Clemson. That wasn't fluky. The loss to Georgia Tech, the game was over. It was over.
It was.
So they should be 7-2. So that's a 7-2 team that's coming in here on Saturday.
Yeah, it's funny. Like, baseball teams always talk about giving another team like an extra out. I mean, like, nothing will ever compare to what Mario Cristobal did against Georgia Tech. Like, nothing. I mean,
It would be like it's almost like that College World Series game where the kid dropped a pop-up in foul territory that would have won the national championship.
Arkansas, yeah.
Yeah, and then they lost the game and then lost the series. Yeah. But that would have been a pretty good catch.
Yeah.
Like he had to that was like a first baseman standing there. The second baseman throws him the ball. It's right chest high. The base runner's 20 feet away, and he just misses it completely. Like, it's just an unbelievable way to lose a football game. And credit to Miami, at least the defense, for still playing hard after that. Like, they won them the Virginia game, the defense did. And then NC State.
Clemson game came after that, too, I think, right?
Right, so. Man. Like, credit to Miami for not just completely imploding on that staff for them losing that game for them.
Noel Boyo 2, wake up. What are your top 3 FSU Miami games? I was thinking about this, Corey. I don't have nearly the catalog to pull from as you do. And that wasn't a shot at your age. It's just your recollection of everything, your recall.
It was a shot at my age. It's fine. I'm old. I get it.
Nothing nearly as glorious. Oddly, 2016, like I was at home by myself watching that game. But for some reason, like I'll always remember, like it was just so stressful. And then, the block at the Rock, obviously, just the final drive, getting ahead, blocking that. That was special because also I was able to like tap into the Miami radio broadcast and like they were on cloud 9 when they scored the touchdown. Chris Fowler's going nuts.
Yeah.
And everyone thinks Chris Fowler, is anti-Florida. So he's going nuts. They're going crazy. And as soon as the extra point is blocked, just the deflation you could hear in Don Bailey. And I don't know who the play-by-play guy is, but he's been doing it forever for Miami. But you can just like, it's blocked. blocked. And it's like, yep, there goes the losing. This losing streak continues for you. So 16's in there. 2005, that was the first game I ever worked for Warchant.com as like an intern. And and it was a horrendous, ugly, terrible football game. So gross. But it ended the streak. The muff field goal that they couldn't get off to try to win that game. So I remember like witnessing that, running on the field with Ira and trying to get interviews with players. You used to be able to interview players right there on the field, Corey, after a football game.
I remember seeing it from the stands.
What a time. And then all my friends have been sharing photos that have popped up on their social media, reminding them like 10 years ago they were in Tallahassee to watch the Miami game. So I remember the 13 game after they dismantled Clemson, like the group text was like, we're all going to the Miami game, right? And it was like, yes. And then I got tickets for everybody. Shout out Jamie Warren, Jam Nolfin, or whatever he goes by on Warchant. Hooked me up with like 6 tickets. We all came up here for that game. And that was like the last time I think we've all been together for a game. So 16, 5, and 13. Maybe not necessarily in that order.
Okay. So you touched on those. I'll go deeper. I would say 93 for sure. You'd lost to them 2 straight years in wide right, so they both cost you national titles. So to beat them 28-10, Devin Bush putting away with a pick 6, Charlie keeping his Heisman candidacy going, obviously. That's probably number 1 for me. 89 is really close. Again, you had lost to them the last 2 years, and both years they were your only loss. 87 and 88. You went 11-1 both years. Both losses were to Miami. 89, they come in there. You beat them 24-10. Leroy Butler, future NFL Hall of Famer, picks off Toretta's first pass, and then Dexter Carter scores on the first offensive play, 37-yard touchdown. And then you hold on. Kirk Carruthers has an insane game. You win. Miami still goes on to win the national championship. So that lost a little of the luster.
Were you there?
When Miami's holding up a trophy on New Year's Day. But it was an unbelievable atmosphere. And as a 14-year-old, 13-year-old kid, whatever I was, to be in that stadium back when Doak at night was like that, that will be an all-time memory with my dad. That game, the 93 game, and then the 96 game down there. Like it had been 12 years since Florida State had won in the Orange Bowl. And then they go down there, they're favorites, but you never know. It's Miami. And Warwick Dunn bust off an 80-yard touchdown run. And then Rock Preston had a huge run later in the game. You beat the crap out of their quarterback, Renard Wilson and Peter Boulware, and you finally ended that streak. So those are the 3 I'm going with.
There we go.
I know people are listening to this and going, what about 47-0 in 1997? But, I mean, that game, I don't even think I watched all that game. I was up in Athens at the time. Yeah. It was a rout. Miami didn't belong on the field with them. It was cool that you sacked their quarterback into the goalpost, which I've never seen before or since.
Scott Covington?
I think it was either Covington or Ryan Clement, but I think it was Covington.
Okay. Yeah. Wow. Yeah. Southernmost Seminole, Azon, you don't watch the cinematic recaps? They're so good. I think they actually use your voice on the Wake Forest one. You should check it out.
Oh, there you go. They used Jeff Cameron's on this one.
Yeah, they used me on the Wake Forest. I have sent the cease and desist letter.
Yes,
thanks,
correct.
Thanks for letting me know.
At least put your name down there, like what it's from.
People have alerted me to that. That was cool to see. They do a really good job. I don't know. It's a weird thing as a creative person. I don't know. It'd be like seeing a script as a director and like, I want to make that movie, and then somebody else gets to direct that movie. I don't know if you want to watch it, That's a weird thing, but it's the way I'm operated. But I'm glad they do that for you folks, because I remember being in Mississippi and Ole Miss was doing this stuff in like 2011 with a 3-9 football team.
Yeah.
I mean, they were doing these incredible recaps. They've made it into a 30-minute weekly show. And I was just thinking, I'm like, why isn't Florida State doing this? Like, Florida State's actually really good. So shout out to whoever's really been able to spearhead that effort to get you guys more access and this sort of branding stuff, because it does make a difference. It's awesome for you folks, but imagine like a 17-year-old kid that's trying to make a decision and you see these kind of videos. So yeah. I don't hate on it at all. Lane 2324, he asked us the other day, I glossed over because I don't know the answer, but maybe he was asking about the fan vote and the Heisman. Does it mean anything? He's seen people post a link, takes you to the Heisman website. I've voted a few times. Jordan's leading, but does it truly help him? I think, Corey, it's not like 10,000 votes equals 10,000 votes, right? It's whoever ends up, I think, winning the fan poll just gets like one singular, I don't even know if it would be a first place vote. So I'm not sure, but I'm sure it has to result in some very small, insignificant percentage of what ends up being your total vote count to win this. But you're a Heisman voter, so maybe you would know, Corey.
I don't. That's a good question. I don't know. Maybe it equals one vote. I don't think it's like 20% of the vote, or I don't think they break it down like they do the Major League All-Star game.
But would it be like because you do first place, second place, third place vote, right? It's a weighted vote.
Yeah, so I would think they do who finishes first, second, and third. They just that's who gets that's how they handle the fan vote. It's one vote. So I can tell you this as a Heisman voter. I can't tell you how I'm voting or anything like that. I'm not allowed to divulge that, and clearly I don't know yet because we're still in November. But he's still on my ballot, and he's high up there.
Yeah, I just did a quick Google search, Heisman fan vote process. Nothing came up, so
right.
we tried. We tried though. Hey, that's all we can do. Live show 6:00. Corey and myself. Check it out. I think the War Chant Report powered by Cummins will probably be up around lunchtime, so check that out. We will not be at practice on Thursday. We're never at practice on Thursday, so enjoy your morning. But Jeff Cameron, 1 to 3 o'clock, tune into him and Tom talking about this game and all the stories that'll be there. Matchup analysis, courtesy of Matt Lasser. It's all over at warchant.com. 50% off for first-time subscribers. Come on home. Take advantage of it. We got some real big games coming up. Be part of the family. We're not going to tell you there's special preferential treatment for people that come to the corner pocket at 5 o'clock to hang out on home games. But when you're a member, I feel like there's a little extra gleam in that eye of Corey Clark when he shakes your hand.
If you're a member of the website, you get to look me in the eye. You get real eye contact, uninterrupted for 20 seconds if you want it. So yeah, I mean it's pretty intense. And if you're not a War Chant member, just dap me up and get on your way. That's a joke, everyone. Come up, say hey. We're very polite, I promise. Jeff Cameron's even polite sometimes. So come up and say hello to all of us.
All right, that's Corey. I'm Aslan. Thanks for listening to Wake Up War Chant, presented by the Corner Pocket Bar and Grill.